Thanks so much for tuning back into another episode here on Gems Podcast. With me in the hot seat is Rob Krecak, and here is a bit about Rob. He is a thrill seeker, self-professed nerd, question answer, voracious reader, competitor, keynote speaker, and business builder. When he first got his Wall Street job as a sell side equity analysis out of college, he thought he made it. After buying everything he wanted on his wish list, he realized that he still wasn't happy. He listened to his deep down desire to help more people by leaving finance to eventually own 3 Anytime Fitness health clubs and 4 uBreakiFix cell phone repair stores. As someone vulnerable to technology's addictive hold from a young age, video games and Facebook in particular, Rob is on a mission to help individuals and companies reduce burnout and get back time to master their careers and lives. He founded Humans First to provide a one-of-a-kind coaching experience that analyzes and coaches people's efficiency and energy by paying attention to their mindfulness with technology. Rob thinks there is always something to be learned from everyone, and he let his curiosity guide his conversations. In his spare time, he likes to do CrossFit, better himself through reading, travel, and spend time with his wife, Niki. So without further ado, please welcome Rob Krecak to Gems Podcast, where we're going to dive into technology mindfulness, workplace productivity, and what does a 4-day work week look like?
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Genesis. Really appreciate you for having me on the podcast and really grateful for the opportunity today.
My pleasure, Rob. And before we jump into your subject matter expertise, I definitely want to connect with you on a personal level, and so does the audience. So I'm going to give you 2 options. We could break the ice up front or play a 10-question rapid fire game. What would you like to do?
Oh, I'll do the first option. Sure.
Okay.
I like that.
We're breaking the ice with Rob Krecak. So, Rob, share something crazy that you've done in your life or a fun and interesting fact about yourself.
Oh, I'll do both. So before my wife and I decided to do this experiment where we went vegan for 3 months, my favorite thing to drink on the planet was cow's milk because I'm from Wisconsin, the Dairyland state. And so it was like inconceivable to me that I was going to give up milk for 3 months. But actually, after I gave it up and, switched to plant-based milk, I really don't miss it anymore, which like blew my mind. So that's kind of a personal thing. And something crazy that I've done in my life. So I traveled to Costa Rica for a couple of weeks for vacation. And there's this platform that's suspended over a jungle canyon, and you can do this. You can like get attached to this platform and swing across the canyon, which is as big as a football field. And when I did this, you actually get faster. You like gain more velocity than skydiving. So it was just an incredible rush and obviously scary as hell, but I still really enjoyed it. It was super fun.
Wow. Would you do it again?
Totally. Yeah, I would totally do it again.
And then the other interesting fact was you don't miss cow's milk anymore. So with the plant-based milk that you're drinking, do y'all ever make your own milk?
No, we saw that there's this company on Shark Tank that's, makes like almond milk and they're selling it in like Whole Foods or something. And we're not super good in the kitchen, so we haven't attempted that, but I would like to try it at some point. I think that'd be fun.
Super cool. So let's now dive into your expertise. Technology, because technology can definitely be an energy sucker and drainer. And then, the mental health aspects around technology. And I'm just going to say this, like, kids, whenever you see kids nowadays, how many times do you see kids playing outside versus inside?
Yeah, so this is like this is a very personal topic for me. I'll just share a quick story with you guys. So when I was in high school, I had really, really terrible acne. It was very crippling, and this led me to have low self-esteem and self-worth. And it was really tough for me to connect with people, and I didn't really want to look people in the eye or people to see me. And even one year for my yearbook picture, I just didn't go to get my picture taken because I didn't want people to remember my face that way. And so as kind of a side effect of this, this acne and the low self-esteem, I actually became addicted to video games, but this was in the mid 90s before most people even had a cell phone. And so I kind of say I was addicted to technology before it was cool to be addicted to technology. But the thing that really resonates with me that you just said is I think that kids today are not only getting addicted to video games more frequently and earlier in life, but I think that they're getting addicted to technology as a whole, especially social media. And I was also addicted to social media later on as an adult. I was addicted to Facebook because I found myself checking it at red lights and at stop signs, and I was like, what am I doing? I'm not, I don't need to fill every spare 20 seconds of my day with something on my phone. And so I kind of had that realization that I was addicted to it. And so, I want to prevent other people from going through what I went through. And I see this happening to there's 4.2 billion people connected to the internet today. If they're not aware of the ways that they're using technology that isn't serving them well, they are going to get probably addicted to it at some point. And I just don't want to see that happen to half of the world.
Yeah, and it's such a good realization to come to the awareness that you're spending so much time. And one thing that the cell phones do, well, I'm an Android user, so I'm half and half, so half Android, half Apple, which is just weird.
Yeah.
So my phone tells me how much time that I've been spending on certain apps and on the phone in general, and it kind of charts that metric. So whenever I see like high rates, I try to be mindful of, okay, is what I'm working on adding value there, or is it taking away value where I could reprioritize my time and focus on something else, like to increase in my productivity? Because how many times have we all spent time like just scrolling, or I just say the SNH, scoping and hoping. You're just scrolling up and down. And before you know it, 30 minutes goes by, an hour goes by. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I've been on this for 3 hours. And that's why I refuse to get on TikTok, because I heard that it's very addicting to watch those reels.
It really is. Yeah. I mean, what's interesting is if you look at some neuroscience, they've done studies where they have people use technology, specifically social media, but other types of technology, and then they put you in a machine that measures, your brain activity. And what they find is that using technology, again, especially social media, lights up the same activity in your brain as illicit drugs like heroin and cocaine. And so think about this. You sound like you must have good self-control, Genesis, because what you're really doing for people is you're giving them an infinite drug that's completely that's free and it's totally convenient. And you're giving that to a 12-year-old, let's say, and who has social media, and you're telling them, hey, I'm giving you this, digital drug, and I want to make sure that you don't use it too much. So just use it a little bit. Okay. And of course, as a kid, you don't have self-control. You don't have a strong executive function in your brain that doesn't develop until age 24 for females and 28 for males, right? It's not fully developed until those age groups. And so, or until those ages. And so, you're giving this kid something and it's super addictive, and you're saying, hey, just use it a little bit. Don't use it a ton, even though it's free and totally convenient. And that is just like a crazy equation to me. On what planet would we, give a kid, let's say a bag of cocaine and say, hey, we just want you to use a little bit of cocaine, not too much. And we're going to give you as much as you want. And it's totally free. So just make sure you don't get addicted. Okay. Like that would be totally insane. Yet that's exactly what we're doing with cell phones. Exactly what we're doing. It's just a digital drug, not a physical substance.
Absolutely. And that's where your other part of your training comes in, is you help people realize the mental health aspect and its relationship with technology, which if you do mental health plus relationship plus workplace equals what's your productivity. I think let's break those apart, because people don't realize like how whenever you submerge yourself in the realities of other people, it can begin to affect how you see yourself, because you are trying to look at life through somebody else's lens versus being happy and, wholeheartedly fulfilled and completed with who you are.
Yeah, that's a really great point, Genesis. And I wrote this blog post that I entitled 8 Reasons Why Social Media is the New Cigarette. And I don't need to go through all 8, obviously, on the podcast, but basically, if you think about it, what you're doing on social media is you're comparing your everyday life, your day to day, to everyone's highlight reel. It's like watching the movie trailer, the 2-minute movie trailer for a movie, right? Everyone watches the 2-minute movie trailer like, this movie is amazing, I totally need to see it. And that makes you want to go to the movie, right? Well, it's the same thing with social media. You're just watching movie trailers of other people's lives, and then you're comparing it to your own boring, mundane, regular day life, not your movie trailer. And so, obviously, that's not a fair comparison, and you're going to feel crappy as a result of that. And the other thing is, if you think about humanity, right? We used to exist in tribes of, let's say, 50 to 150 people. And so let's say it was half men and half women, right? So if I'm one of 75 men in my tribe, and let's say around 10 of them are my age, well, I'm really just comparing myself to 10 other humans in terms of, their abilities, their, charisma, things like that. But now with social media and media in general, we can compare ourselves to basically an infinite number of people. And there's always going to be somebody richer than you, better looking than you, smarter than you, more successful than you. That's obvious when you're comparing yourself to that many other people. And so, we're not setting ourselves up here for success as a society or as individuals when we're constantly looking at all these other people and comparing ourselves to them. Interestingly, as a sort of a side note, if you look at the history of eating disorders skyrocketed in the 1960s. And you might ask why? Well, that was when TV first became popular in households. And so we were comparing ourselves to these movie stars, and that made people, have these eating disorders. And there's a lot of evidence that shows that even today, with social media, it is causing eating disorders and causing people actually to kill themselves and be depressed. There's very clear evidence now. It's not a debate anymore. And so, I'm just here to try to make people aware of these things and help them understand. And again, hey, it's your choice to use social media. Obviously, it can be used for certain things that are beneficial, like connecting with people, or for business use. But there's so many other negatives that are hidden and that you don't even realize are happening when you're using it. That, to me, I'm really just trying to generate some awareness for people so that they can make their own choices about how they want to use it.
Absolutely. And everything in moderation. That's the key. Moderation. And
Yeah.
really being intentional with the time that you're spending, because you don't want so much time to pass by that you haven't done something productive or fruitful for your overall personal and professional growth. And so we kind of hit on the personal aspects of using technology and how it could play into our mental health and etc. Now let's do the flip side of the coin and bring it into the professional setting, because we now know companies want everything to be quick, fast, just get it done. And I think technology in a workplace setting, it can be a blessing and a curse sometimes, because when you automate so many things, you begin to take away the personalization out of it. And so from your experience with what you're doing in the professional space around productivity, around the 4-day work weeks and et cetera, can you talk about the aspects of technology, mindfulness, and overall productivity as a whole? And feel free to break it down so it's easily digestible for the audience.
Yeah, of course, Genesis, happy to do that for you. Oh man, there's just so many, there's so many things we could talk about with this, but here's what I see happening in today's world. So, people want to work. Most people work because they have to make money, right? The American workforce is only about 25% actively engaged, meaning about 75% of people are either indifferent or they don't like their job. That's not surprising. And actually, we have one of the highest engagement rates in the world. So compared to the rest of the world, we actually have more people liking their job than the rest of the world, yet on an absolute basis, it's still relatively few people, right? Only 1 in 4 people really love their job. And so you think about that, and most people want to do their job and then go home and do other things, right? Which isn't a surprise, and I totally understand that and I respect that. But here's what's happening. When we are in flow, and flow can be defined as a state where you are, you're like at the edge of your limits and everything is going well, and you're like just having one of those days where you're just crushing it, that's when you feel like when you're in flow, that's what flow is. Well, when people are in flow, they're up to 500% more productive. So what that means is if you can get into flow for just 2 hours a day, you can accomplish more in those 2 hours than you can in an entire day. So think about that. 2 hours of just very focused work is more productive than an entire day. Well, here's the problem. When people are in flow and they're doing this amazing work, if they get interrupted, it takes them 23 minutes to get back into flow. And so here are the other statistics that are important. So the average person checks their email inboxes and Slack once every 6 minutes, and then they get a notification on their smartphone once every 15 minutes. Well, if you're doing the math, then if we're checking our email every 6 minutes and our smartphone every 15 minutes, we're definitely getting interrupted more than once every 23 minutes. So what that means is that the average person is never, ever, ever in flow. And that means that we're never doing high quality work ever, almost anybody really. And so I see a massive opportunity for companies to structure their workplaces in a way that doesn't allow interruptions during certain parts or times of the day, so that people can get into flow and really get the work done that they need to do.
Wow, those are really profound statistics. And as I've been listening to it, I'm like, it's so true, because our phones are constantly on us. We're not stewarding our time with our phone. And one thing that has helped me is putting my phone on do not disturb by a certain time every day, every night, because I didn't realize that it was affecting my partner. So my husband sleep, he doesn't like when my phone just buzz, especially when you get those notifications. And that could, sleep is very important. And if you're disturbing someone else's sleep, then it's not good for them, because then you wake up sluggish in the morning, you're all groggy, you're grumpy, and you're like, damn, what side of the bed did you wake up on?
Yeah. Well, that's really great that you mentioned that point, Genesis, and I can provide some extra detail about that. So here's what's happening to society as a whole. When we use our technology, anytime we get a notification on our phone, when we check our email, other things with technology, it activates our sympathetic nervous system. Now, this is the fight or flight system that keeps you alive in the event that there's a threat. So for instance, if a saber-toothed tiger attacked me, my sympathetic nervous system amps me up so that I can either fight the saber-toothed tiger or run away. Well, when we're using our technology constantly, checking our email once every 6 minutes, that sympathetic nervous system keeps on getting activated. We keep on getting amped up, and we never have enough time to downregulate or recover, because it takes more than 30 minutes to downregulate. And so what this is doing, and this is all subconscious. People don't even realize that this is happening. But what that's doing is that is increasing our body's physiological stress response throughout the day, which makes us more anxious, which makes us eventually can make us feel more stressed out. And it can also affect your decision-making, affect your ability to focus and do a good job. But the other thing is, just like you said, if you are doing work late into the night, it can also affect your sleep. Let me give you an example. Let's say, and so many people do this is why I give this example. Everyone's like, yep, I'm just going to check my email before bed. Okay. And it might seem like a kind of a harmless thing. And maybe most of the time it is. But let's say you get an email from your boss at 10 o'clock and you read it and you're pissed off. You're like, this email, I cannot believe my boss said this. What? And so what happens is you get into a super amped up, super fight or flight mode right before you go to bed. Well, obviously you're not just going to be able to be all amped up and then go to bed in, 5 minutes. Your body doesn't work like that. So that could keep you up for hours, which is negatively impacting your sleep. And then your whole next day is crushed because you didn't get a good night's sleep, all from checking your email that one time at 10 o'clock right before you went to bed. And so one thing I've done, and I know that this may not be a popular suggestion, but I promise you you can make it work. If I can, you can. I don't have email on my phone at all in any way. I don't have any mail app. I don't have any way of checking my email on my phone, except for if I'm in like an extreme emergency and like, let's say I need directions to a party and it's in my email, I can go to my Chrome browser and access my email, my Gmail from that. And then I can, but I do that maybe once a month or twice a month or something. And so by removing my email from my phone, it removes the temptation for me to even check it. And that allows me to only check it on my desktop computer where I'm very focused. I have a very deliberate purpose to do it. I spend ideally 15 to 30 minutes per day in my email, and that's it. Now, the crazy thing is the average white collar worker sends and receives 126 emails per day. If you're taking 2 minutes per email, that means that, salud. That means that if you're taking 2 minutes to process every one of those 126 emails, that means that you're literally spending half of your workday sending and receiving email. I mean, how are you supposed to get anything done if you're spending half your day emailing? Your job title isn't professional email answerer. It's to do whatever you're supposed to do.
That is so profound. And I just commend you for not having email on your phone. Like, I don't know how you do it. So I'm definitely going to challenge myself to try to work up to that. But right now I'm going to rock with the DND, do not disturb. But one thing that I did when I was in corporate was I dedicated certain times to read my email and I put it on my calendar. So
yes.
right when I get into work in the morning, sometimes I would start at the bottom and work my way up so I could see the oldest things first to the newest thing. And then I also believed in categorizing my email, whether I'm using color mechanisms, because I love color.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I would use the stoplight color. So red, green, and yellow. And I would tell people if they send me an email, then put the sense of urgency. And then I will then reevaluate, okay, is this really urgent based on my workload? And then I'll get it. But of course, if it came from a manager or executive, of course, I would get it done because I was in oil and gas for 12 years and you just don't play around with certain things.
No, it's serious business.
That's an amazing point that you shared, Rob. And so what are some other tips and tricks that you want to share based on your subject matter expertise to help the audience?
Oh man, there's so many.
You could probably do the top 5 and then challenge them to go follow you to learn more.
Okay. Well, here's another one that I can say. And by the way, you don't have to delete your email from your phone. Here's another option. It's a compromise, right? Instead of having like almost everyone, when they have email on their phone, it's on their home screen, like the very first page when you open up your phone, right? So here would be my challenge to you. You move your email to the very last page of your apps. And so then you have to scroll a bunch of times in order to access it. Now, there's going to be 2 things that happen. The first one is that in the next week, when you are on your phone, you're going to open up your phone and hit the space where the mail was so many times. You're going to be freaking scared about how automatic it was that you were just checking your email out of boredom, which is, again, like not productive at all. It doesn't do any good for you. And really it can stress you out. So that's one thing that will happen. The second thing though, is that when you're scrolling to get your mail, you go to the mail app, you could also be asking yourself, do I really need to check my mail right now? Is there a specific purpose or reason why I'm checking it? Or am I just doing this because I'm bored? And so we're purposefully introducing what's called it's called friction. Sorry, I couldn't think of it for a second, but we're purposely introducing friction in this process so that it takes more effort for you to access your email, which is going to make you less likely to access it, which is exactly what we want. I'm not saying that you don't use it or can't use it. It's just going to be a little bit less convenient, and that's a good thing. So that's the first one. The second thing could be doing the exact same thing, but with social media. And I really, truly, I really strongly believe that social media is best used on a desktop computer or a laptop instead of your phone, because it is Facebook and Instagram specifically have been engineered by Mark Zuckerberg with the help of tens of thousands of engineers to make it as addictive as possible. So think about this. There are tens of thousands of people making Facebook and Instagram addictive. Plus they're using computers, AI and algorithms, right? How on earth is the mind of one single person supposed to resist supposed to resist the efforts of tens of thousands of people plus computer AI? The answer is you can't. It's basically impossible. And so you need to structure your phone or your life in a way that allows you to, use social media in a way that serves you. For me, the way I use it is I deleted it off my phone and I only have it on my laptop or my computer. I very, very rarely use it on there anyway, maybe like once a month or something at most. And I just found that, if the interesting thing is that they've done studies about people where they give up social media, and you might think, oh my God, I'm going to miss out on all this shit and blah blah blah, FOMO. Okay, and yes, like you feel that way, but it's only for about a week. And after a week, like once you get over the week, you're over the hump and you're in the clear. So it really doesn't take that long. It's just a week of pain, and after that, you're in a good spot. So that's the second thing I would say. The third thing is, you kind of mentioned this earlier a little bit, but 85% of people have not touched the notifications on their phone at all. None. So like basically 85% of people have all notifications enabled, which to me is like totally bonkers, because I get like, I don't know, between like 50 and 70 notifications a day. And I still think I have way too many. So my suggestion is you can just go into the notifications part of your settings. And then I have decided to toggle everything off except for phone calls, text messages, and travel related stuff or delivery related stuff. Like I want to make sure I don't miss my flight, for instance, or if my flight is delayed, I need to know that, right? But everything else is completely turned off. The notifications are turned off. And that way, you will, once you do that, you'll be like, oh my God, I don't know how I had so many notifications and how I could sift through all that crap. Like, it's just debilitating. So that's probably another one. The other one is, and like, this is something that people don't think about, but I think is super important. So for every hour you spend doing work on your phone, and when I say work, I mean like answering email or doing other work related things that you could be doing on a desktop, like searching on the internet for something. It generally takes people like twice as long to do something on a phone as it does on a full screen computer or a full size computer. And so basically, if you spend an hour working from your phone, you could have cut that time in half and spend half an hour on your computer. Or for instance, if you're someone who, I know people who they manage businesses from their phone basically exclusively and almost don't use a computer. In an 8-hour day, that person could just be working 4 hours on a computer and just, do their work more efficiently from a computer. And so I know that, and I'm aware the reason why people use a phone is because it's more convenient, but sometimes convenient isn't more productive. And so you need to ask yourself, what's more important? Is it more important that this is convenient, or is it more important that I'm productive? And then you make the decision what's right for you. But I do everything humanly possible to funnel all my, business communication through my email. And I do as much work as possible on my desktop computer. And when I'm on my phone, I just use it for other things like connecting with people or texting, but I don't really try to use it for work, like productivity stuff. So hopefully hopefully those things are helpful.
Those are amazing tips. And I'm going to just pull a challenge out. Everyone, I'm sure your phone is near you while you're listening to this segment. So grab your phone and begin to apply some of the things that we mentioned here. What notifications do you need to silence? Ask yourself, is it adding value? Is it distracting me, or is it derailing me? And silence them. Or another thing, sometimes I just look at my notifications. Sometimes I have 30 or more. I just go down to the bottom and hit clear all notifications. And then whenever I think of something that I need to do that's important, I'll go back into that app and I will look at it. But I don't need to spend time going through every single notifications, because it could be someone liking your post. It could be someone doing this or that, and that's not adding value. And then there's also apps on your phone where you could set specific timers on it, where it will block out a set time for you to use it, kind of like what we use for the kids on their iPads. They have certain amount of screen time. Well, try implementing that on your phone as an adult, and then reprioritize the time that you're saving by not being on your screen to maybe journaling, maybe getting in some fitness, maybe meal prepping or batch cooking or whatever, and then start to see how you're able to get more things done on a productive basis. So that's just a challenge. And I know that you have your phone next to you. Don't say you don't, because I know it's right there or in your pocket. Um, so now let's jump into the call to action part of the segment. Rob, you gave some really amazing tips, and we talked about technology, we talked about mindfulness, mental health, and just overall productivity. So when someone hears this segment, what is your challenge for them? Or where do you want them to connect with you, whether it's your website or where you primarily hang out on social media?
Yeah. So I named the company Humans First because humans are not first in our world anymore. The statistic is that in America, and this was before COVID, so you can't blame this on COVID. This is a pre-COVID statistic. The average person in America spent 12 hours and 21 minutes a day in front of screens and media. Or let me put another way, we are literally spending 3/4 of our waking life in front of screens. And so 50 years ago, humans were first in our world. We socialized with people. We would go out to dinners with people. And I'm not saying that we don't do those things, but we definitely don't do them in the same capacity that we used to. And so my challenge to you would be, instead of spending some time on your screen this week, just cut some of the time out. Let's say you take an hour, right? Take an hour of screen time away from what you were doing with on your phone or your computer, and spend that hour and call someone or Zoom someone that you haven't seen or talked to in at least 3 months. The statistic about closeness is that the sense of closeness between two people drops by 80% if the people haven't seen each other in 5 months or more. And so so what that tells me is that if I want to maintain a sense of closeness between me and another person, I need to see that person in person, like not on Zoom, not on a phone call, but in person at least 3 times a year. So my challenge is, call or Zoom someone that you haven't seen in at least 3 months, or ideally go and meet them in person, right? At a coffee shop, do whatever, go bowling, I don't care, grab a drink, do something fun with someone in person. And I promise you that and I get that some people are a little hesitant because of COVID, or because, I haven't gone out in a while. You know what? Here's the thing is, if you connect with someone that you care about, I promise you that you're going to feel so much better at the end of that 1 hour that you spend with them than you would have if you're on social media. I guarantee it. And so and that's kind of the reason why I created Humans First, is I see that technology is impacting relationships and our society and the fabric of what we are as humans in a negative way. And I'm hoping that, we can reverse that a little bit with some education and some awareness, like you were saying earlier. And, if people are interested in chatting a little bit with me, I do have an offer that I will give in conjunction with your podcast here, Genesis. I would offer anyone a free 30-minute consultation with me. If you go to my website, you can go to humansfirst.us, and you can enter, there's a couple buttons there where you can enter in your email and just get in contact with me and mention this podcast. Or what you could do is you can also email me, and my email address is rob, R-O-B, at humansfirst.us. And just email me and say, hey, I'd like to take you up on that free 30-minute consultation from the Gems podcast, and I will definitely connect with you. So happy to chat with you and talk to you about how you could better use technology to make your life better.
Amazing. And thank you so much, Rob, for your generosity and doing that for the community. That's amazing. Listeners and viewers, all of Rob's contact information will be in the show notes. Make sure you subscribe and share this segment. We're on 40+ platforms. You could also see all video components over on YouTube by typing in @Gems with Genesis Amaris Kemp. And last but not least, thank you so much for tuning in on a consistent basis to support the mission behind Gems, which is to bring educational topics, inspiration, and motivation while we intersect diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And now, because of you, I just checked some incredible metrics and see that we moved up from the top 3% to the top 2.5% globally out of 2.8 million podcasts per www.listennotes.com. So thank you so much. We wouldn't have reached that success without you and without incredible guests that come in to the community, such as Rob and others. So I challenge you to go learn more about yourself and really be intentional with the time that you're spending in technology, and try to diversify that time so you could spend time doing things that you love, connecting with your family, your friends, health and wellness, and overall things to promote that total alignment, mind, body, and soul. So until next time, peace, love, and lots of blessings. Go out and have an amazing day.